thank you so much for joining us today and for making the time. If you could just take a moment to introduce yourself and the research that you're doing right now.
Sure. My name is Bas Bloem. I'm a professor of neurology. I'm the director of the Center of Expertise for Parkinson's disease in Nijmegen in the Netherlands. It's a very large center of excellence where we deliver care, we do lots of research, and we innovate in healthcare. We're very active. I call myself increasingly a holistic professor. Holistic is often equated with soft science, but I use that term on purpose because we literally tackle everything, including, of course, pharmacotherapy and deep brain stimulation, but also lifestyle, exercise, diet, stress. We're studying art as a new therapy. I'm a strong believer in the merits of dance, and we've studied dance in a trial, and we can talk about that more in a minute. And I really feel that people with Parkinson's or Parkinsonism deserve this holistic, integrated, overarching approach.
And do please expand on how you feel dance can impact or have a support for people with Parkinson's.
Well, the interesting thing is we've known this for a long, long time through anecdotes. And people often say, well, anecdotes is not evidence, but that's not true. Anecdotes are evidence, but it's the lowest degree of evidence. And of course, a large-scale randomized clinical trial with blinding of participants, objective outcomes, followed over a long period of time, where dance is compared to a placebo intervention, is the highest degree of evidence. But I think increasingly, the sum of N of 1 observations, single case observations, is actually the real world evidence. And we've known from a long time, through many, many anecdotes, that people with Parkinson's thrive when they dance. And there's a good theoretical rationale. One is that dancing and music come with positive emotions. And that squeezes out dopamine from the amygdala, the happiness nucleus in the brain, which then spills over into the motor circuitry and helps people to move. Second, the rhythmicity of music and the rhythmicity of dancing movements help to overcome much of the motor blocks that come with Parkinson's. Dancing is almost, well, I wouldn't say by definition, but oftentimes a social event. And that part of dance, I think, is also important. And if you dance with your spouse or another partner, it's safe because you cannot fall because the other one holds on to you. And then, of course, depending on the type of dance and the intensity, it's also an aerobic workout. And definitely it increases the volume of movements. And we know from a number of studies, including studies by my own group, that movement in general, and particularly aerobic exercise, but also simply moving more, works like a drug. It suppresses symptoms in Parkinson's, and it may well become the first disease-modifying treatment in Parkinson's. And dance is just a beautiful way of moving more. So I'm a passionate believer, as you can see.
As we are too. Happy to hear it. I'm curious about dancers take a lot of time to develop the language to cue the movement. There's a lot of thought put into how to cue the movement, from images, of course, music, as you mentioned, the rhythm. And I'm curious if you've done any research on different types of cueing systems or the language that's used to initiate the dance.
No, this is an excellent question. You know, we live in a time of personalized precision medicine, and people tend to equate precision medicine with pharmacogenomics, you know, sequencing your DNA and tailoring your drugs to your DNA profile, your genetic profile. But I think dance and music is by definition an example of highly personalized medicine. And the type of dance and music that you like may not appeal to me and vice versa. I have to say this is still in its infancy. I would say that dance in terms of scientific evidence and rigor, well, infancy is maybe too bold, but the studies so far have shown, including a study by my own group, that dancing either as an individual or as a group is better than no treatment. How to optimally personalize dance requires further study. Again, anecdotal evidence suggests you need to personalize this, but it's never been tested back to back. The question is whether these studies will ever come. We do know, it's a little sidestep, but it gives you an illustration. Cueing a metronome helps to restore gait in people with freezing. But the metronome needs to be set at the right pace for each individual. If you pace it too slow, people won't improve. If you pace it too fast, they start to fascinate, move fast, and then fall. So it's an example of how an environmental sound needs to be personally tweaked in order to get the optimal result. And it wouldn't surprise me if the same applied to dance and music. I have videos. If you see them, it's goosebumps all over the place. One man listens to Björk because he needs 110 beats per minute to move better. He doesn't even like Björk, but it helps him. The second video is that of an elderly man who plays the opera Orpheus and Eurydice by Gluck, and he starts to waltz with his wheeled rollator. Brings tears to your eyes when you see it. In that case, it's not the rhythm that helps to restore movement, but it's the positive emotions. But those videos back to back are exactly your point, that this needs to be personalized. Again, whether this will ever be born out of trials or whether we should just do it is almost a philosophical question. You can guess to which camp I'm leaning.
Yeah. Well, I think there's been a lot of just doing it from many, many dance practitioners across the globe that are leading these classes. And that leads me to another question. What do you imagine, or what could be forms of collaboration between dance artists and researchers like yourself?
No, this is, I think if we want to persuade insurers, governments, that dance should be reimbursed just like a drug, we need evidence. So we just published a paper and it said, if art were a drug, so a drug is reimbursed by the government if you show the right dose, if you show safety, if you show for which patient it works, and if it has a long-term benefit. Those studies probably need to be done in the world of dance, and we can only do it if the dance teachers and those with experience in dance collaborate with scientists who can provide the scientific rigor. So trials will be necessary in order to persuade payers to reimburse this. I would love to see research being done on personalized dance and music. So I would love to work with dance teachers and learn from their experience and see if we can somehow get a better grip on why certain types of music or dance work better than others, or is it just irrelevant as long as you like it? And that collaboration would be exciting.
Ditto on that. One last question. You've been a pioneer on shifting how people think about social prescribing or prescribing this holistic approach to treatment and non-pharmaceutical approaches. And you already mentioned it about what we face on a policy level. I'm curious, what have been some of your biggest obstacles, and what would you recommend to continue to push this forward of using art or engaging with art as a non-pharmaceutical type of drug?
Well, there are still many hurdles to be taken. As an example, with a dance group in Friesland, in the north of Holland, we published a paper in Journal of Neurology on dancing, and we showed actually that dancing leads to better quality of life. I mean, it's beautiful. Based on these findings, one of the Dutch health insurers started to reimburse dance as part of their reimbursement program, which I thought was really exciting. So I posted a message on Twitter, or X as it's now called. Bold insurer reimburses dancing as a therapy. And then I got attacked by the anti-quack movement, who said, oh my God, are we now reimbursing dance? We are bringing lifestyle and what is regular life into the medical system. And the interesting thing is that is such a misconception, because dance keeps people out of the medical domain. So they were saying it exactly wrong. But that reaction shows that we need to work together to portray dance, music, and art in general as a bona fide therapy that is part of this holistic approach and that keeps people outside of the medical domain. So yes, you make it part of the overall management plan, but it's not drawing dance into the medical domain. It's drawing people out of the medical domain into the dance classes. So we all need to be ambassadors and keep telling that story. And I think we should keep pushing anecdotes and beautiful examples of people who are moving more, who are more confident, who are happier. In one of my next studies, I want to show that people who regularly engage in art, this is art in general, and could include dancing or making music, but it could also be painting or sculpturing. Primary outcome will be the number of hospital visits. And I want to show that people who regularly engage in art are doing just that instead of visiting their doctor.
Fantastic. I look forward to that research. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to learning more from what's coming out of your research. Thank you so much. Wishing you a good day.
And you. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.